Hello. So this will be an unedited and unscripted breakdown of my Xbox World Record run. And as far as I'm aware, this is also just flat out the glitchless Weave 160 world record. But yeah. So I'm just going to be going through this run, breaking down basically every minute detail of what's going through my head whenever I'm making attempts. And this run is planned out enough that if you wanted, you probably could like study this video and actually learn this run beat by beat. So anyways, let's get into it. So immediately right off the gate, the video would play. You immediately want to cast down right at these spikes. Or not cast, sorry. Teleport, and then teleport again right past this post as far this way as you can. You're going to move tech twice. Cast up onto this guy, make sure he gets lit on fire. Cast onto this Skaven slave and stagger and push him out of the way. You're going to get just around this corner. I make a couple mistakes here in this run. First thing is that I accidentally shoot normally. You want to just immediately do the AoE cast on this Storm Vermin. And then the second thing is you want a bit more space, and you want to cast directly at the feet of this Mauler. If you cast even slightly off, then he won't get staggered that much and has a decent chance of hitting you on the way through, but if you cast directly below him, he will stagger enough that you can slip past him like I do here, and he just won't be able to touch you. You're going to grab that speed potion and jump across this gap. Now, it didn't happen in this run, but sometimes this Storm Vermin on the left will start running this way because he'll get aggroed and he'll start trying to climb up to here to get up to you. If that happens, then on the way through in the air, you just want to quickly flick to him, cast on him, and then cast again on this Storm Vermin. Anyways, that doesn't happen, so I just cast once to get both of them. You drop down right here, see if I can get a good angle. You want to aim for this stone. You want to aim to drop down right on this stone, because that is, as far as I can tell, the earliest point you can land here. You're going to land there, and then start move teching all the way out to this firebomb. And because we haven't grabbed the health potion, we can't stam tech, so you do have to preserve your stamina. I do make another mistake here. So let's break down this area. So this dude has a decent chance of slipping around your left and avoiding getting staggered. If you don't stagger him in any way, then you can pretty much guarantee that he will hit you, and so you need to time a block to be able to avoid that. But here, I just push him and we're good. This Storm Vermin is the bane of my existence. He has about probably a 30 to 50% chance of just running straight at you and shoving you, which has a almost guaranteed chance of letting the things behind you catch up and stab you in the ass. So just be very cautious. If you see him start pathing directly in front of you, just know you need to either dodge or do something to get out of his way. Thankfully, he has some weird pathing here and just avoids me. I make the mistake here of not going wide enough around. I go pretty much right next to this Mauler, which lets him shove me. Which, I mean, it isn't the worst thing because he shoves me sideways compared to the enemies that are behind me. So I don't really have a chance of getting backstabbed, but it does waste time. Like, that shove probably cost me half a second of time, which isn't that shove. I get shoved into this wall, which is not the worst thing, but, I mean, time save is time save. So here, you're going to go up this side of this, jump up onto here, and you're going to wait for half a second-ish. This will give these enemies enough time to aggro and start pathfinding this way. Once they do that, you're just going to move to the right, jump up onto the firebomb cart, grab the firebomb, and then if those enemies pathed how you wanted them to, they should be all out of your way. This Mauler should be moving up to the side. You can simply drop down to here. If you see, this is a smaller thing, but if you see an enemy swinging at you, which like you can barely see down there, an enemy swinging at me, you can push to trigger a parry, which will make you take no stamina loss if you get hit. I don't think I actually ended up getting hit there, but that is something that frequently happens, is you'll get hit by maybe a mauler overhead or a random enemy hitting you. And if you're low on stamina, then that can mean you have no stamina coming up through here to move tech like I am now. But anyway, so you jump off this cart, you're going to move tech up this way as fast as you can, get just inside of this archway, and it should be timed to where you will get your ult back literally the exact second that you need it, which is very handy. Drink that speed potion, move tech just a bit out of the way. I usually cast twice back into this, just 2 small casts, just to make sure things are burning, and as much of this is burning as possible, both for essence and because you need the extra ult energy from Fires from Ash. And then you're just gonna move tech your way all the way up to this corner. Now, a good marker for time here is if you are hitting this corner when the timer says 14:03, then you are pretty well on track to having a good run. Like if you are anywhere before or after this, or if you're after this, then that's a really freaking good run. But if you're anywhere before 14:03, I'm saying this the wrong way around. If you're anywhere after 14:03, so it's like 14:02, then that can mess with things. I forgot to explain it, but let's go back to the firebomb cart. So there's a special trigger right around here, I think it is. It's somewhere up by this firebomb cart. The gun rats, so let me skip forward again if I can find them. Where am I? Here. So these gun rats, we'll go back even more so you can get a better example. These gun rats, as far as I can tell, their spawns are predetermined, but they depend on what time you hit this special trigger. So you hit this trigger at a specific time, and depending on what time it is, will change the actual positions that the gun rats spawn at. So if you can get very consistent at this start, then you can get to the point where you are consistently making the gun rats spawn in the same few locations. I don't know what the actual window for the gun rats is. I think it's maybe half of a second or a full second per like spawn window, if that makes sense. So I typically try to aim for hitting this little pillar at 1425 or 1426 ideally. Because normally, let's go back forward to where we were. So you move tech up through here, you hit this corner at 1403. You're going to run up here, grab this concentration potion. I'll get back to the gun rats in a second. Come up around this corner, you're going to cast on this mauler and stagger him out of the way. And then you're going to get up here and you're pretty much just going to wait here. If you get lucky, then Fires from Ash will make it to where your ult gets back as soon as you hit this corner, or you get your ult back again as soon as you hit this corner. But sometimes you won't have it back soon enough, and so you have to wait here for just a second, which is kind of annoying, but it's not the worst thing. It's mostly just RNG. But here, so if you are consistently fast, there is pretty well there is 2 of 4 spots that the gun rats will spawn in. So one of the spots, I don't think I turn around anywhere in here, but one of the spots is the gun rat will spawn back up here on top of here, in which case you can just come around this corner and cast straight up there and it should light him on fire. Alternatively, you can get up to right about here, turn around, and then cast up on that, where the cannon normally is on this map. Just cast directly on there, you'll see him up there, or he'll start trying to shoot at you and you can stagger him out of it. The second spot which the gun rat almost always is. I'm not entirely sure why it wasn't in this run. I think my timing was just off. I don't know if I was faster or slower or what. But the fire rat will almost always be right here. So you can typically just teleport straight down here, which I didn't even get to that. So you're going to wait in this corner until you get your ult back. You're going to teleport straight down to here. And there will be a gun rat right here. There will almost always be a fire rat right here as well. Let me see if I can get a better angle at it. Come on, look down. There will almost always be a fire rat down here as well. And so you just need to make sure you're either teleporting on top of it to make sure it gets lit on fire, or you're catching him with some kind of burn tick so that fire rat's burning. So anyways, you teleport down here, gun rat up here. In this case, there wasn't, which that's why I cast up there, is because I'm expecting there to be a gun rat there, but this time there wasn't, so that was kind of just a waste. You move down here, almost guaranteed. There will also be a gun rat up here. It's not very high quality, so it's hard to tell, but there will be a gun rat up here occasionally. And very often, the last spot is a gun rat right there. Now, because my timing was slightly off in this run, I had a gun rat spawn in a position which it almost never does. So, I did expect the gun rat here, so you stagger him out of the way. I hear a gun rat over here. This is one other spot which it can be, and this is pretty unideal to have because it very easily can hit you and end your run. But in this case, I got kind of lucky. I managed to stagger it out of the way in time. I cast one more time on him to get him out of the way, and then remove teching out. So here, there will almost always be this gas rat right here, so you just need to make sure he gets lit on fire at some point. And then if you're fast enough, this fire rat, which normally spawns down here and starts to move up this way, if you're fast enough, if you hit this, if you hit this area early enough, then this fire rat will instead, I don't know if it spawns here necessarily, but it will appear right at this doorway. In which case, the most consistent way I found to get around him is to cast once on him to stagger him, immediately drink your concentration potion. Oh, play, come on. And then stagger him again. That will give you just enough time to stagger him twice before he can start burning you. And then you just need to make sure you're dodging the stuff behind you so you don't get stabbed in the back. Now that you're around that fire rat, you're just going to wait for an ult and then start teleporting this way. You're going to teleport once this way and then down here. This gun rat, that was a good pause. This gun rat will be either walking up here or he will occasionally be down around the corner. You kind of just have to account for that. But what you always want to do is teleport onto him. And then if you only teleport onto him once, you need to make sure you stagger him again. Because for some reason, gun rats, if you stagger them once, then they'll just immediately start shooting again. But if you stagger them twice in a row, then there's I'd say an 80% chance that they go into this reload animation where they cannot fire for the next few seconds. You need to get them into that reload animation. Otherwise, he will start shooting basically immediately and kill you before you can turn around and get out of here because your ult won't be back. So I thankfully managed to flick around and stagger that gun rat in time and then get an ult back and I can teleport out. If you're fast enough here, you should have enough concentration potion left to be able to get one last ult back as you're moving down this way. If you don't get this ult back, it's not the end of the run, but it is a pretty big time loss, and it can make it very, very difficult to do what you have to do next, which I'll get to. So you move here, you want to get just past this mauler. Chances are that mauler's not on fire yet, so you just want to quickly turn around, light him on fire, and then keep moving. As soon as you get past this dude, you're gonna teleport as far this way as you can, and then I don't think I get a good angle on it because my hand's blocking it. But there's a ladder just past this pillar in the middle that you want to teleport as far onto as you can. So you're just gonna teleport directly below it, walk up it, and if you get lucky, nothing should hit you on the way up. I've had a few times where a Skaven Slave will just immediately aggro and running attack me before I even hit the ladder, which really doesn't make any sense, but it happens sometimes. It's kind of just unfortunate. Stagger this dude out of the way, and you're going to move tech right up to here. You're going to stagger him one more time to give yourself some space. You're going to cast as far in this direction as you can because there are some enemies over there that you need to pull aggro of for essence purposes. Essence. And then you're going to cast again in the middle just to make sure everything in the middle gets pulled. And then you don't have to necessarily, but I also tend to cast behind me one more time just to make sure I have enough space to turn around and start move teching out of here. You're going to get just about to this archway here, or just before it. You're going to do one small cast behind you to stagger things, and then you're going to charge up a full cast and cast pretty well as far back as you can while still catching the majority. So like I see there's a ton of stuff right here. I want to make sure I catch most of that in this blast while also casting as far back as I can. So I do that. I get a pretty good cast off. You're going to jump up behind you and then start move teching as fast as you can out of here. Alright, so let's go back a second. One more time frame thing to be watching for is you want to be finishing this second cast pretty well around this time. So like here, I know I'm pretty well on pace. If you have a really good pace, you could be finishing the second cast at 13 minutes rather than 12:58, which would be ideal. Just because, I don't know, I've made a couple mistakes in this run. I've lost probably 2 seconds so far in this run to what my current like time PB is, because the way scoring is done in this game's leaderboards is it's both based on damage taken and on time. So my time score PB is about 2 seconds faster at this point, but this run goes hitless, so the score ends up being higher. So back to this, you move tech up through here, and this is one of the more important parts of this run, and why being fast matters so much is because there is these storm vermin. These storm vermin, and if I can see them, I think that's a shield vermin. I honestly can't really tell, this video is horrible quality. But, so some of you might know, at a certain time trigger, if you are up in the fort at the beginning of the map, there will be these storm vermin that spawn. Or I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter where you are, there's just these storm vermin spawn. It's a wave of like 3 shield storm vermin and 3 normal storm vermin. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's something like that. If you're fast enough getting down to here, it will make those storm vermin that normally show up in the keep or behind you in this run, they will appear in front of you. So you can just, which is incredibly convenient, because that means you don't have to sit around waiting for these storm vermin to catch up. Because the thing is, shield storm vermin specifically give a ton of essence. Like I'm talking 4 or 5 times more than what a normal storm vermin gives. So in order to meet the essence requirement to have the portal open by the end of the run, you need to be able to kill these shield storm vermin. So I come around this corner, I see the storm vermin are here, so I'm like, cool, I know I'm on time. I cast, I light up as much of them as I can, and then I ult out of here. You're gonna ult up this way. One more, pretty much the last, or the second to last, like time split to be watching for is typically you want to be grabbing this concentration potion by 13, or not 13, 12:40 exactly. Here I'm again about 3 seconds behind, which where I lost another second was I didn't need to do this second cast here. This cast, everything there was already lit on fire. I didn't need to do that. They were going to die anyways, so that wasted about a second. So you come up to this potion, you're going to be grabbing it at about 12:40. Here I grab it at 12:37, which is still fine. It's just a little bit behind pace, behind my personal best pace. And then you're going to drop down just off to the right. You're going to cast on both of these storm vermin that are up here. There's one right on the front edge and then one back in this little corner. You're just going to cast as far back in there, light both of them on fire. Drink this concentration potion, and then start running this way. Sorry, I need to drink of water. Okay. More details. So, after you drink that potion, you're going to get your roll back. You're going to teleport once down to here, turn around, and then teleport up this hill. Pretty much all this does is it makes enemies path up here and stay off you a little longer, because you're going to wait for this Minotaur to get about halfway across the bridge, and then you're going to teleport down to here. You want to make sure you use both ults so that it can be recharging again. You're going to stand just behind this thing, which will force this Minotaur to charge, and then you're going to stand... I don't think I ever get a great reference point, but there's this little ledge here. You're going to stand as far back on it as you can without falling off the ledge. So I get right up onto the edge, which makes this Minotaur stop its charge directly in front of me. I can teleport straight through him and shove him off the ledge, which insta-kills him, and you're out of there. At this point, you're just move teching, you're dodging the maulers all the way out to the portal. Now, if you've done everything right, this portal should open literally like right before you get to it. In my case, I think I ended up missing one or two of those shield storm vermin I talked about earlier, which makes it be just a little bit behind. Like if you can see, I don't think I can zoom in here, but the essence bar is just short of being there. Typically it would be a little closer. I think if I had one or two more of those shield storm vermin kills, this portal would have opened a couple seconds sooner, but didn't make that much of a difference. Normally what I do here is I climb just up this rock, turn around, and then I start casting on everything behind me. That pretty much just quickens up how fast I get the last little bit of my essence. Which, like in this run, you can see it was very close to me not opening this portal in time. Like I'm sitting there having to push and like just barely backpedal to avoid these orbs, just to wait for this portal to open. Like here, let's do a time analysis. So I'm killing. If this portal opened right now, which I've had runs where the portal opens at 55, then this run could have been 5 seconds sooner and, you know, matched my PB. But instead, first of all, I was 3 seconds behind anyways, and then the portal took extra long to open, so I ended up being a total of, I think it opens at 50. Yeah, right after 50 ends. So I end up being about 5 seconds behind my PB. Like my PB enters the portal at 55, I'm pretty sure. And I entered at 1650, or just below 50. So anyways, okay, that is the majority of the run. Congrats, you made it this far. There's a lot of details, a lot of specifics that really don't like show themselves if you're just watching the run, but literally everything I've mentioned before is stuff that goes through my head as I'm doing this run. You don't necessarily have to memorize all of what I'm talking about, but these are just the things through, you know, a solid amount of time of like putting into this run, I have kind of just learned things that I've figured out that make the run more consistent or faster. So, again, you don't have to take this run beat by beat, but it is very consistent if you decide to do so. It takes a lot of the luck and the like random chance of just AI pathing and whatever in this game and puts it all into pretty much just your own execution, which is kind of why I like this run a lot. But anyways, so you got into the portal at 1650, preferably 55, but this run's a little behind. So you get to here. There will be a fire rat that spawns right up here. I'll get a better angle right up there. 90% of the time, he'll drop down off this ledge, but occasionally he'll path around back here and come off this ledge, and occasionally he'll path around back here and go off this ledge. Pretty much, you want to bank on him being here because the majority of the time he will be. Cast directly on top of him, and then cast mostly a fully charged one just to get some extra damage off. This will guarantee that he dies before he can get anywhere close to you in this corner. Speaking of which, you want to run up and nestle yourself right into this corner. This will just make all of these Skaven slaves bunch up right in front of you in a nice little ball, as you're going to see here. And while this is going, I'm taking a bit of drink. So, there's no really great way to tell when every Skaven slave is here, because sometimes stragglers will be around the corner still coming. But pretty much as soon as you see the last couple coming in, you're good to just teleport out. You can teleport twice, turn around, and full cast on that group. That will just guarantee that they all die before they have a chance to reach you, so you can set up a firebomb here. So I haven't had audio on this entire time. I'll turn audio on this for this. Audio hasn't really mattered the entire run. Turn that down a bit. So the way I set this up typically is it doesn't really matter where you position yourself that much. Pretty much you just want to be aiming a decent bit above this ledge. I don't typically aim this high, but it worked out here, so maybe you do want to aim a bit higher. And then pretty much right after you hear the spawn queue end, that spawn queue sound effect, like that laugh, I throw the bomb right about as it ends. I think here I throw it just before. That will line it up to where that bomb lands right as that Storm Fiend is passing by it, and we'll shove it off the ledge. And then here, pretty much the last detailed thing of this run is this gun rat. So there will be a singular gun rat, which can very easily end the run if you don't know how to deal with it. He's going to be up over this ledge and to the left. So typically what I do is as soon as I ledge that Storm Fiend, I turn around and I cast as far back over this ledge and as far to the left as I can, which almost, very nearly almost guarantees that I hit that gun rat. And in this case, it does. The thing is, you won't really know if it's hitting that gun rat just yet, just because there's not really a good cue to tell you if it's lit on fire yet. So you kind of just have to bank on the fact that it is lit on fire. So anyways, so after you light that gun rat on fire, you're going to immediately drink the concentration potion and then just start holding block. You're going to ult twice to light as much of this stuff on fire as you can. And then at this point, if you had lit that gun rat on fire, the literal last thing that can end this run by doing damage to you is these orbs dropped by these enemies. What I tend to do is just ult twice across this way, and then ult twice, move a bit to the left, and then ult twice again. Pretty much all I'm doing is just zigzagging my way across this field, ulting, which is making as much things light on fire as possible as they're passing through my flame trails, and it's keeping me away from these orbs that are spawning from dead enemies. So like here I ult twice, I make sure things are passing through these flames, I move to the right to get away from those orbs, and then after this second ult, I know that everything is clustered up enough and I'm far enough away that I can safely cast to get some extra damage off. Like, it's not going to be adding any burn ticks because of how lingering works, but it'll be doing extra damage, which makes things die faster. And then there I was going to go for another cast, but everything died. So, that is pretty much the run. So again, this run could have been probably closer to a... Well, it would have ended up being a 4-minute 24 time. I would have been ending at 15:36, which is, I'm pretty sure what my PB ends at is 15:36 left on the timer. But this run was a little slow compared to my PB. But the good thing is it was hitless, which is... I'm gonna be so honest, I really do not like the fact that the leaderboards are almost primarily based on whether you're hitless or not. Like, I would enjoy this so much more if I could just entirely focus on the time that I reach the end and not worry about taking damage. Because there are so many different, like, AoE sources or random enemy pathing moments that can lead you to taking damage that end like 90% of your runs that would have otherwise been really fast and really good runs. And it's just honestly annoying. So I don't think I'm ever going to try to improve this score necessarily, just because that is a pretty good score, and this damage bonus score I just cannot be bothered with, frankly. But I do think I'm going to keep trying to push the time lower. Because I do have a strat or two in mind that could potentially open the door to a sub 420, which would be funny. But, and I also do want to look into, now that I have a solid run glitchless, I do want to look into using some out-of-bounds strats. I think that could be fun. But yeah, so there's my run. I think I hit everything. I think I got all the details of everything. Of everything that's going through my head as I'm doing this. I'll skim through one more time, make sure I didn't miss anything. Stagger the fire rat, teleport down here, stagger gun rat. Get past the mauler, teleport on the ladder. Talked about the casting there. I guess I'll talk about what my potential idea for a strat is here. So at this point, if all you wanted to hear was the run analysis, that part of the video is over. I'm just going to go into some other stuff that I might try and do later to make the run faster. So, one idea I had here is the reason I go up over this cart and go this way is because getting back into this, I'll just let the video play out. Getting back into this corner changes how the specials back in the fort spawn. So like, if I instead were to just come over here, grab this firebomb, and then dip right out of here, it would be probably around 8 seconds faster instead of going back here, but the difference is all of the specials in the fort would be, all the special spawn locations would be changed, and in many cases they just straight up wouldn't spawn in the fort. But if I can find a way, without changing the rest of the run that much, to still, you know, get the essence requirement, because that's the biggest thing. Like, the essence requirement is the entire reason why I take most of the pathing that I do, is just because specials on their own reward so much essence that you pretty much have to kill every special in the run to be able to have the portal open at a good time. Because if the portal doesn't open at a good time, then, I mean, you're stuck at the end of the map with archers shooting at you, you're wasting time just simply waiting for things to die. Like, It's very inefficient and it's very unsafe, especially with the archers. If the archers weren't there, then it could be a strat, but it's almost guaranteed that an archer will hit you in the majority of your runs if you're just sitting at the end of the map waiting for things to die. So back to this. So there's a strat here where you grab this firebomb and then just dip straight right out of here. And what that would do, I'll try and showcase, is it would make these gas rats instead spawn down here in the cave. And it would make the fire rat that's normally up in this cave, up here, also spawn down in this cave. Or actually, no. I've experimented with this. It only makes the gas rats spawn down here. So the thing I'm not sure how to figure out with that strat, with taking the firebomb and dipping right, is the gun rats that normally spawn in this fort, just in this fort area, I have no clue where they are. Like, I've done a solid amount of attempts where I pick up the firebomb, dip right, I don't trigger that other special spawn spot, which is back under the archway. I don't think I actually showed that very well, but back here, under this archway, that triggers. I don't know if it triggers another special spawn or if it just changes special spawn locations. But the thing I haven't been able to figure out is you get up into this fort, and the gun rats and the fire rat that are normally in this fort just aren't there. So that could be a strat, but if you have to go back under this this archway to be able to get those gun rats and the fire rat to spawn, then that idea is pretty much just dead because you need those specials for the essence. Like, all of the time you would save skipping this little detour back into that corner would be lost simply waiting at the end for things to die. Like, you would gain maybe 8 seconds from this detour, but then you would lose 10 or 15 seconds at the end waiting for stuff to die. As well as being shot at by archers and having a good chance of your run ended because of damage taken. But I guess if I'm just going for time and I'm not worrying about damage taken, then maybe that's not that bad of a cost. But I actually just thought of one last thing that happened in this run that honestly could have made it significantly faster. And that is, I am missing a fire rat kill in this run. So, oh wait, no, it's there. I'm stupid. I just missed it. Never mind. So yeah, I think I mentioned this earlier, but yeah, there's that fire rat, which you can see the little green glow up here. So I just teleport over him, and he should be on fire. I think I teleport down, and no, I don't, but I pretty much was just banking on here that this teleport down. Oh, I do not want to search. That this teleport down also catches that fire rat on fire. And it does look like he is. Okay, so never mind. I take that back. But you need to make sure this fire rat catches on fire, because if that fire rat isn't on fire, then you're going to be hurting even more for essence than I was at the end of the run. So in this case he was, and I kind of got lucky, because if that ult didn't catch him on fire, then I would have probably wasted another 3 or 4 seconds at the end of the map waiting for things to die, which would not have been great. So anyways, I think that actually touches on everything. Pretty much every detail that I look at when going for this run. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments. If you'd like any more details, then I can certainly tell you about those in the comments as well. And I hope you enjoyed. I don't know how long this ended up actually being, but hopefully not too long. Have a good one.